नमस्ते, म उदित भट्ट। म आज अमेरिकाको न्यू ह्याम्पसायर राज्यको युनिभर्सिटी अफ न्यू ह्याम्पसायरमा छु र मसँग यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ सेन्टर अफ सिभिल एन्ड इन्भाइरोमेन्टल इन्जिनियरिङ डिपार्टमेन्टको प्रोफेसर्सहरू। म यहाँ कुरा गर्न गइरहेको छु। विशेष गरी सी लेभल राइजको कुराहरू हामी ल्यान्डलक्ड कन्ट्री, एउटा चाहिँ भूपरिवेष्टित राज्यमा बसेको मान्छेलाई त्यति थाहा छैन, हामी पढेको मात्रै छौँ। अलिकति यसको अन्दाज अलिकति लगाउनको लागि हामी प्रोफेसरहरूसँग यसको प्रभाव कस्तो छ भनेर कुरा गर्न गइरहेका छौँ। सो प्रोफेसर, कुड यू प्लिज टेल अस समथिङ अबाउट लाइक द इम्प्याक्ट्स अफ sea level rise on infrastructures?
So what we found is that with sea level rising, we're seeing an increase in vulnerable roadways. So flooding on roadways has doubled over the past decade, and we're expecting to see that continuing in the future.
And the data of the delay that you had measured?
So we determined the hours of delay for the entire east coast of the United States to be currently about 100 million hours of delay. And coming into the future, we're expecting by mid-century and definitely by late century for that to be up to 1 billion hours of delay every year.
So 100 million hours of delay is per year?
100 million hours of delay per year, yes.
100 million hours डिले। यहाँ हामीलाई त सायद समयको मतलब छैन, परवाह छैन, त्यही भएर हामी डिलेको कुरालाई त्यति सानो कुरा मान्छौँ होला, ठुलो कुरा मान्दैनौँ। तर अमेरिका जस्तो राज्यमा यहाँ जहाँ मिनटको हिसाब गरिन्छ, त्यसको क्लाइमेट चेन्जको असर यहाँ कति घन्टा ढिला भएको छ भनेर पनि मेजर गरिएको छ। त्यो बाहेक अरू कुरा इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरमा हुने कुराहरू त छँदैछन्। सो आई एम टकिङ टु प्रोफेसर जो, कुड यू प्लिज हाइलाइट सम अफ द challenges climate change has posed on our infrastructures?
So in addition to the sea level rise, just increasing precipitation events, heavy downpour events, causing more frequent flooding and more extreme floods. In terms of the pavement infrastructure, not only do we see washouts happening more frequently, but also with those rising groundwater levels, the pavement structure is actually weakened. And so you can see more accelerated damage, which means that those pavements need to be maintained more often or need to be rehabilitated sooner than originally planned.
Do you see how important is it for us as a normal people, not academia or not an NGO, to take up doing something for climate change? What's your take on this?
So I think it's important for folks to be aware of what's happening, and in some cases, you know, in the instances of the regular flooding, folks know that that's happening on a more frequent basis, but to be aware of what potentially could be happening in the future and start to think about what are the different alternatives and how do we plan for that.
And what's your take on, like, what are your suggestions for people or government to look after climate change issues?
Well, I think one of the challenges is that we've thought of emission reductions as being separate from adaptation. And what we're starting to see when we have these very large numbers in terms of impacts, in terms of costs, that in some ways really pushing on emission may be a more efficient route than trying to adapt the entire infrastructure. And so I think we need to start bringing those two communities of practice together.
सो हामीले यहाँ देख्न सक्छौँ कि कसरी जाबो भनेर भन्न सकिने यो पेमेन्टको कुराहरू पनि कसरी हामीले एडाप्टेसनमा लिएर आउन सक्छौँ भनेर, यसै गरी भर्खर प्रोफेसर जेकबले भन्नुभयो जस्तै हामीले त्यो एडाप्टेसन सँगसँगै यसलाई कसरी आफूले यसलाई हटाउन सकिन्छ अथवा कम गर्न सकिन्छ क्लाइमेट चेन्जका असरहरू भन्ने बारेमा पनि सोच्न जरुरी छ भन्ने कुराहरू यहाँ हाइलाइट गरियो। धन्यवाद। हामीले कहाँ के तवरले सक्छौँ आफ्नो तर्फबाट यो साँच्चै ठुलो समस्या हो भनेर समाधान गर्न कोसिस गरौँ। उदित भट्ट, न्यू ह्याम्पसायर, अमेरिका। थ्याङ्क यू।